So if you were like me, well, probably you're not, but with all that rain, I just thought, what a nice day to stay in bed. Or maybe what a nice day to just go downstairs and light a fire and just sit. But no, you didn't. You came. And maybe because I'm giving the talk is why I wanted to stay in bed. But I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Cliff and Ashley are doing a workshop in Calgary today. And so I have known I'm giving this talk for quite a long time. And I've been thinking about it. And I think I knew I was giving this talk at our last Women's Circle. And if you've been part of our Women's Circle, which is probably more, every month it's about 50 women that come, and sometimes there's 4 or 5 new people, so it probably is more like 100 women from this community and beyond that have been coming to our Women's Circle. And this year, we've been talking about the divine feminine archetype. I always need to look that word up, the archetype. So if I say woman, you immediately sort of think of a pattern of what a woman is. If I say mother, you have a real sense kind of that role that the mother stereotypically is. Father, we have a sense of that too. We've each got our own little modified version of it, but we know what the archetype is. So it's the divine feminine archetype, but presented from Greek mythology. So now we're talking, 3,000 years more, maybe 5,000 years. But it's just so interesting because as we looked at different goddesses, we saw that some of the patterns in human interaction and behavior are still very much in our culture today. And some of the traits within us, when certain things happen in our lives, how we respond and react to what's happening is actually often a pattern too. So the woman whose work that we looked at was Jean Shinoda Boland, and she's a psychiatrist. She's a Jungian psychiatrist, so she's looking at archetypes and patterns. She's very well known. She's sat on a committee at the United Nations. Her work is around 1 million circles of women around the world, and she was planning to do a big thing at the UN with the 1,000,000th circle. She's written many, many books, and I saw her at the Parliament of World Religions, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and I'd read all her books, and so I'm a big fan. So we're using hers as kind of our groundwork. She looked at Greek mythology and women goddesses in Greek mythology from, of course, a woman's point of view. Because, as you know, her story is really not very written down. We mostly have his story, and I'm sure the men in this group know that if I told your story, or if the women in your life told your story, it would be different than how you would tell it, and how you would write it. So when we look at women's stories and men's stories, we know that women have our own kind of lens. Of course we do. At Women's Circle, I think the power of it is, it's a safe place. It's a place where we can reflect very openly without wondering how what we say is going to land. We simply can look within and answer questions that are asked. We do a meditation, then we do a little journaling, and we write our own kind of how we felt, what we see, our own truth. And then we share that with a small group of 2 other people. And we feel seen. And we feel safe. And we're vulnerable as we choose to be. To begin with, maybe not so vulnerable, but as we find who we're with and what's being said, we tend to feel very vulnerable. And we leave feeling whole. There's a certain sense of real wholeness when you're in a safe conversation that's deep, that's touching something that you may not have thought of, or is touching something that you've lived, but never thought of it quite that way. From a divine feminine goddess perspective, we look at, and you hear it here all the time, something's happened, it's been wounding, it's difficult, it shouldn't have happened, we're outraged, we're upset, we're hurt. And then we realize from that reality, it's happened, we start to build our life. We start to heal. We start to look for the gift of it, and sometimes it's just made us a bigger container for life. Part of the archetype is a young maiden, Persephone, who is a sort of a symbol of spring. She's this archetype of spring, fresh, innocent, sweet. Another archetype is her mother, Demeter, who is wise, powerful, and when Persephone gets into trouble, of course, she tries to save her, and she will do anything, won't we, mothers, to save our daughters, to save our sons, to save our people. And so she's willing to go into the underworld. She's willing to shut down the crops and stop nature from providing food until those men come and find that kid. And so they do. So that's one of them. But we've all had a sense, as a mother at least, I've had a sense of, losing my son and being willing, because he's losing himself, and being willing to do anything to save him, to keep him out of trouble, to pull him out of the fire if that's what it takes. I'm willing to do that. And that's that pattern in us all, men and women, that's an archetype. So here's where I'm taking the leap, boys, because I want to talk about patriarchy. And it is tricky for a woman to talk about, it's tricky to talk about patriarchy, no matter where you are, because it's kind of something we think we don't know really what it is. So I've spent quite a few weeks reading about what actually is patriarchy and what role does it play in my life. I've been married for almost 60 years to the same person, of course. Yeah, it's worth clapping about. It is worth clapping about. We have 3 fabulous sons. They're married, and they've each got 2 children. So 3 sons, 5 grandsons, and 1 granddaughter. We're close, and Norm and I make dinner for them every Sunday. As most of you, if you know me, know that. We've been doing it for years, and we're both good cooks now because we've been doing it a long time. And we're creative. We don't just make hamburgers every week. We go on the internet and find stuff to make. And we've got a vegetarian, and we have a fiance that's celiac, and so no gluten. Lactose-free, vegetarian, like all this stuff. We got all that too. So, we have widened our container. We've had to widen our container or stop doing it. So I'll just say that. So the 1 granddaughter, we have coffee with her. She's in grade 11. We have coffee with her every Tuesday because she teaches swimming after school, and Papa started picking her up before she had a car, and now that she has a car, she still wants to have coffee before she goes to work. So we sit and listen to her life. And she tells us what's happened in this subject, who did what, all this kind of stuff. And she's a marathon runner. And she's an honors student, big time. And she's proving that girls can do it somewhat. It's somewhere in her psyche, she's very much performing at a real maximum level. Her brother, who's a little bit older, is with his dad in Scotland right now, touring, because he took a gap year. And he sailed into Grant McLeod for next year, but, just because he's a pretty smart together kid, but, not the same kind of drive. So I, as the grandmother and working with women, feel that this 16-year-old girl is being influenced almost unconsciously by the patriarchy. The patriarchy is, thousands of years old, that says life's kind of, we're humanity's a pyramid. A few men at the top, powerful men, the kings, the priest too. I'd say for many thousands of years a priest was here, but it's all men. And I know that this is news to me. This is what I learned by doing this research. Men do not feel they're at the top of that triangle. They don't feel they measure up to those top guys. And they've painted a picture, our culture is painting a picture of those top men, what it takes to be at the top guy. Muscle-bound, brilliant, money, all the stuff in our society that we all know. We're dipped in that. So men, when the women in my household start talking about women's issues, the men are all on one team and they say, we don't feel that way. This doesn't reflect us. Don't say all men, because that isn't me. That isn't who I am. And they're not. And they're not. But we feel as women, maybe not you, I feel as a woman, that they just sort of come into this world with that privileged position. Without having to do a thing, they sit here in this privileged spot. While I feel like the women of the world cater to them in every way we possibly can to prove to them we're equal to them. And we look after them, we cook, we clean, we plant the fields, we reap the harvest, we knit, we bake, we do everything. And we now feel we have to go to work. Well, let's say we want to go out into the world and earn money and really find ourselves professionally as well. And so we feel like we're double dipped. Many of us feel we're double dipped in this positional place, and that we have to climb this ladder to be up here with our men folk. That was just given to them. So these women archetypes sort of exemplify a little bit of that, where the men are kind of misbehaving and they're having to be so mature to not be reactive and to not be doing things that actually make it all worse. So as women, I think we often feel that too, that we're doing this double dance of trying to be soft, caring, supportive, accommodating, present, a mentor, a listener, a confidant, a coach. So we're very in touch with that part of ourselves, probably because for thousands of years we've needed to be for our survival. And men have been told they need to be strong. They need to be protectors. They should look good. It's nice if they'd look good too, but it's not the first thing on our list. And nowadays too, they need to be earning enough food, enough things to kind of keep us all safe. And of course, there was many years we had so many children that we really needed to keep them in that spot of being our defender and supporter and breadwinner. Well, I sort of had it in my mind we have two camps and that we kind of have different realities, and that men have created this place and that women have just sort of had to deal with it. So it was kind of shocking to me to talk to my husband on the way back from the lake, to have him talk to me about how it feels to be a man and have patriarchy kind of always in your face, and know that it doesn't reflect you. That that's not you. You don't want that. And yet we all know unconsciously we are attracted to some of these things in the opposite sex. So we're not completely innocent of patriarchy, but I think we're way more sensitive, of course, than thousands of years ago. And I've got a good man. I've got a person who's not into the real macho, he expects me to serve him. No, he's not that kind of a guy. And just one more step, too, that has helped me, too. But he did tell me that it's hurtful to men and to himself, too, to have women kind of paint them all in one brush and feel like they're the ones doing it to us, because men, too, have really been limited by patriarchy. It's been very difficult for men to really be vulnerable. They've been really told they shouldn't be vulnerable. And I'd have to say, even as women in raising sons, certain behaviors in my kids I realized I kind of squashed down because it was sort of not manly. Be careful, because you know what? You'll have trouble out here on the playground and with the boys if you do too much of that. Just be a little careful of that. So, patriarchy's in us as women too, big time. We've been immersed in it too. The other thing I found interesting is my dad was raised by his mother, and she was widowed when he was 7. And she was fabulous. She was a farm woman. She moved the whole farmstead, built a new house, a new barn, raised those kids, did everything, hired men to work in the field for her. She housed the teacher in the neighborhood, so she lived with this other woman. She dated no man, married nobody, until all her kids were married and had children of their own. Then she got married at 58. So I would have thought that my dad would have had a completely different upbringing, and the patriarchy would, not be alive and well. But here's what just bugged me. Research says women, mothers, are teaching patriarchy to their kids, all their kids. Ooh, bugged me. But I said, I think this example proves it, because my dad controlled all the money, made all the big decisions. My mom was just superwoman and did a million things to accommodate my dad, but no matter how hard she worked or how much she gave into that, the land was not in her name, even though they bought it together. So when he had a stroke at 76, she was left with no bank privileges, no access to money, no name on the land, like crazy. My grandmother was an independent, powerful, wonderful woman, but somehow her sons had this, were in the pyramid. Like it's just been so interesting for me to get this. And so I know, because of this teaching, I can only work on me. I need to change how I think about this. I need to notice myself when I'm judging, when I'm expressing an opinion that has to do with the roles of men and women. I have notes, but I haven't used any of them. I'm just not sure what I was supposed to be saying now. I know one of the things I'd like to say, though, is I looked at Ernest Holmes and said, well, what does this teaching say about patriarchy? Where's Ernest in this? Where's new thought, science of mind? So here's what Ernest said. We come from a unified field. There is no form. And like as if that's the ocean, a little droplet pops out of the ocean. It's got all the qualities of the ocean. This little droplet has more characteristics of male. This one has more of female, but they're actually made of the very same thing. They're just expressing a little differently. So within the male is the female. Carl Jung said the anima is in the male, which means the feminine. And it's the same with the woman. The male is in, I may be expressing as female, but within me are all these qualities that are male. And when we see each other as different, or say, only I can express this and I can't express that. So I can express my masculinity, I can express my dominance, I can express my assertiveness, I can express my physical power, I can be confident and speak out in my manness. But if I'm concerned about something, I dare not come to you and cry and tell you like how worried I am or how hurt I am or how I'm actually feeling deeply. Very not healthy. The woman who's been taught she can talk about what she feels, she can nurture, she can support, she can be soft, but she can't stand up and claim her power. She can't say it to the man without, perhaps, being disciplined in some way. Here's the issue, though. When we're raising children, it's women who take that role with the children historically. And so the woman has really emulated, in some ways, that dominant, discipline, discipline without kindness and love and softness sometimes. So what we're all working on together these days is we're working on communication with love. We're working on getting in touch with ourself, being present. And when we're triggered by our partner, who's always our greatest teacher, our job is to notice it, take a deep breath, and say, I'm going to support the biosphere between us. Do I want to have our relationship be loving, or do I want to be right? Do I want to be close to you and share my thoughts with you, walk alongside you? Or do I want to claim my independence and powerfulness as an independent woman? We're all working on this. I've been listening to Terry Real, a psychologist that works with couples, and he says that he's works, he himself has been a very grandiose male and domineering. And he and his wife have been married a long time too. They've raised 2 boys. He said they've both had to really work on how they communicated with each other and how they fight. Because you're going to fight if you've been married a long time. And so how to kind of rein it in and say things like from here, I love you. I know you love me. What you just did hurt me. I need this. I don't think we've done that, but we've learned how to repair somewhat. We haven't quite done it that way, but I do know myself that there's lots of times that we can be outraged in a relationship. And it takes a lot of maturity, and I'd say a big container, to at that moment be quiet. Think about all the good that we've experienced in our relationship. Hold that big picture. Put it in the container where this, let's say, a little acid got poured in. And have a perspective to say, I am not going to toss all this good stuff that we've done together, all this joy we've experienced throughout the years, for needing to be right, or to punish you for the fact that I'm angry. The biggest medicine that I've drank is this teaching. It said, change your thinking, change your life. Take responsibility for what you see in front of you, because you have created it. If you want something different, you have to do something different. Contemplate what you want. Be quiet inside yourself and invite that something that sits within to just give you a solid presence that all is well. No matter what's happening out here, there's something solid in the inner self, the deep divine soul of life that holds us, that supports us, that is with us and never leaves us. Find her. Find that. Find that great protector of life. And then speak and operate from that place with humility, with kindness, with love. And so this week, my little ask is, my friend gave me a cute box, and her practice is every day to write 3 things she's grateful for before she goes to sleep. She puts it under her pillow. I put it back in her little box she gave me. Collect the good in your life. We want our men to thrive. We want our women to thrive. We want our children to be protected, their innocence, their goodness. We want our adolescents to be mentored. We want those young adults to be given fierce love that says, we need you to walk with us through the fire as hand in hand, as partners. As adults here, let's continue to grow and help each other, mentor each other, love each other, support each other. And as elders, let's protect this earth for the next generation. Let's love her, look after her, leave her water clean, leave her soil pure, leave her air breathable. There's one life. It's sprinkled through us all. Let's walk there in this great future that works for everyone together. And so it is.